Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help.
All right, Mike, first of all, the obvious question, Artie's Turbo Strips. What can you tell us about this product?
Well, Turbo Strips are 28 years of a design that I guess I've gone through. I used to put nuts on their skates when they were pleasure skating at the arena. And people would come up to me and say, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I got extra weight on their skates." They said, "Why?" And I said, "Well, because when they take them off, their feet are going to move faster." And everybody thought I was crazy. They still do, actually. But, I was a baseball player. On deck circle, you swing a weighted bat, take the weight off the bat. 95% of the people will tell you the bat's lighter, but the bat can't be lighter because mass can't change. But it's tricked your mind in believing that it is lighter, so you'll swing faster. So I came up with this concept for footwear, regardless whether it's skates, running shoes, football shoes, soccer shoes. And it's taken me 28 years to develop it and to get patents and testimonials. One from Gary Roberts, obviously everybody knows who he is. And the other one's from, Dr. Michael Ford, who happened to be my back surgeon, head of Sunnybrook, spine consultant to the NHLPA and the players and the Raptors and the Leafs. And he wouldn't give me a testimonial until I perfected the product, which I now have. And if you can, I don't know if you guys can see this. This is the packaging now. So there's 4 per package, and they all have slots now. The original ones you had to do the laces in and out, and the feedback was negative. We're not undoing the laces. We're not doing them back up again. So I had to come up with a unique design, which I did, which is the slots. Now you just twist, turn, and squeeze. It takes about 30 seconds to put them on. You can take them off at the same time. Take them from your skates, put them onto your running shoes, your soccer shoes, whatever. I call them the ultimate fitness and exercise aid.
Mike, can you keep that product up where you had it? That way it covers the Leafs logo on your jacket. All right?
How's that? Is that better?
Yeah, that's perfect for the Vancouver audience. I'm kidding, of course. And, of course, weights are nothing new in hockey. With people who are involved in minor hockey, any level of hockey, they know about the weighted puck. Are Chris and Brandon, have they used it, your sons? They've used that product.
They started using them since they were 5, but different variations.
Right.
Obviously, the last couple of years, when I got into my final prototype, then they would wear them and it made sense. Initially it was 2 pieces of leather, 3 pieces of lead, some eyelets, and a Chinese lady put the eyelets in for me, because she worked for a friend of mine. And everybody, Steven Stamkos, Gary Roberts, they've known about these things forever. And as I said, now, I've got Dave Feschuk wrote an article about me on the 14th of December at Toronto Star, 3 pages, basically mentioning my kids, how they got left out of hockey when they were younger because they were too small, all the geniuses in Toronto. And basically about the Turbo Strips, Turbo Strips was one of the things that they weren't called Turbo Strips actually back then. They were just called leg weights. But like Brandon's nickname in Seattle is Turbo, so I thought, the unique name for them would be Turbo Strips.
Yeah, no, good. Hey, you just mentioned something there. You took both kids out of competitive hockey in their teens. Why did you do that? And they still made the NHL, non-drafted. Why did you take Christopher and Brandon out of hockey in their teens? And for how long?
Well, listen, Vancouver's a hockey town. I don't think you have as many mental cases as we do in Toronto. Christopher got cut by 7 minor midget teams. Not because he wasn't good enough, it's because he was too small. So, about the 5th, 6th time, we're out there, he started to cry in the car. And after the 7th one, I said, forget it. Let's just play roller hockey. I coach the national roller hockey team in their age groups, both of them. We'll do skill development. You play high school hockey. Which was, basically on par to House League Select. And you'll meet your friends for life. I said, I promise you when you grow, I'll get you on a junior team. So Christopher was 18. He was about 5'7", 135 pounds. I got him out in a junior team. I knew the general manager. He ended up playing junior. The next year, he's playing on the same team, Durham Fury. I'm trying to get Chris a scholarship. He'll never get one because Durham was so bad. my buddy was the general manager, and I said, listen, John, I said, we need a trade. And he said, what are you talking about? I said, it's not because Christopher's not playing, because he's playing 35 minutes a game. I said, he's actually probably playing too much. But I need to get him a scholarship, and he's not going to get one on Durham. He says, we're not trading him. And I said, that's okay. I've already told him after the game we're going to take his equipment home, and we quit. What do you mean you quit? Well, I said, well, that's what it is. I said, I have to look out for my son. So anyways, 2 days later, after I was begging Joe and Rick Kornacki in Toronto and the Markham Waxers to get him, my buddy got him into Stouffville. Stouffville Spirit made him the general manager. He made the trade, played 4 games in Stouffville. The 5th game of the Hockey East guys, because that provincial league always used to have the Canada stuff, all the different parts of the country would play. And I knew he wasn't going to play because all the Hockey East guys came back. And I said to him on the way up from Toronto to Stouffville, I said, Chris, you're not going to play tonight. After the game, take your equipment. We quit. And he says, no problem. Like, he was right on board with me. I'm not, like, Chris isn't stupid. He's a real smart kid. And, my buddy found out, what I was going to do. And, him and I had a yelling match in the middle of the Stouffville Arena. Like, you can hear me 4 blocks down the road. And I said to him, I said, Tom, listen to me very carefully. I said, I would never do that to your son, so don't do it to my son. And the next day he was traded to Markham Waxers, who I was begging basically on my hands and knees to get him on that team. And, he got on that team and, they won the championship. The next year he got a scholarship to RIT.
All right, listen, Christopher in Vancouver, he was loved here by his teammates, the city. Talk about his time in Vancouver, how much he loved it. How close was he to becoming a Canuck last year?
Well, I mean, listen, Chris was there 10 years. I'm not going to lie. I mean, that was the decision that we made there 10 years ago because I was involved with the initial negotiation. Dave Gagne phoned me up. Mike Gillis was the, general manager, Lawrence Gilman. And, that was a place we wanted to go. Gagne, from the city, we're going to sign you. I said, okay, we're in. So, once Christopher made that decision amongst the 9 other NHL teams were after him, we chose Vancouver. He had an absolute outstanding time in Vancouver and, obviously, made many, many, many friends and has long-lasting friendships there. Towards the end of it, I guess in the last year, when, after his entry-level contract, I couldn't help anymore. And so I initially got Ross Gurney, who's a Vancouver guy, to handle Christopher. And it was funny because I said to Ross, I said, the only thing that I need to know from a parent standpoint is just let me know what's going on with the negotiations. So Chris phoned me up one day around noon hour, and he says, I'm going to sign in Vancouver for $2 million. I said, are you out of your mind? I said, well, that's all they're offering. I said, I don't care what they're offering. He said, you're worth $2.5 million all day long. And then I ended up calling Ross, and Ross says, Benning said, he said, Christopher's soft as, baby's poop, I guess, for just put it mildly. And I said, tell Benning that I'm old enough to remember when he used to play for the Leafs, he used to go into the corner with 12 eggs and come out with 13. And that didn't go over too well. And anyways, he took the deal, he signed, he didn't go back on his word. So it was funny because at the morning skate when Van came into Toronto, I went down, I'd never met Benning before. And I went over, and I mean, he knew who I was when I started to head over there. And he said, you probably want to punch me in the head right now. And I said, you know what, Jim, it is what it is. And listen, nothing happened. There was a father's trip. Everything was good until the last year that, hey, they didn't offer him a contract. And, I guess Brad Treliving was, the smart one when he was in Calgary.
Do you ever think about becoming an NHL GM, Mike?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, listen, most of the guys that I've met in the hockey business are all fabulous people. There is some, I'm not going to lie to you. There is some that I've come across, their ego steps in front of them. Listen, I'm a black and white guy. I'm a car guy. I lie for a living. You know what I mean? And, when Chris went to Dallas, we had a decision in the summer, this summer. I mean, there was 3 teams. There was Vancouver, obviously huge interest from Vancouver, Toronto, and Dallas. The family thing made sense. How close was Vancouver? I don't know. I'm not 100% certain, but I can tell you it was one of the 3 teams that Christopher had to choose from. And basically, having an opportunity to play in Toronto, he wasn't a Leaf fan. We were Red Wings fans growing up, so it wasn't because he was a Leaf fan. But it became family. We had have a grandson, Bobby, turned 2 now, and Kendra was pregnant again, Chris's wife. So when I went to Dallas last year, I looked around and I said, you can't raise kids here. There's nobody around for miles, that's gonna help you. And in Vancouver, yeah, but your family's 3,000 miles away. So the logical place to play, if they offer you dollars and cents wise, is going to be Toronto. But Vancouver was definitely there. And listen, for all the people that love him in Vancouver, and he loves them back. I can tell you that.
All right, Mike, hold up that product again. Tell us where they're available. Make sure it's covering up the Leafs logo. So where can you get turbo strips?
Arties.com. I'm Artie. I've created a brand for myself. I have racehorses in New Zealand and Australia. I've created a brand called Arties, and you can go to arties.com. My number's there, email addresses are there. If anybody needs any information, please give me a shout.
And you'll guarantee they'll get drafted by an NHL team. It's there on the back of the package. I think I can send
I don't want him to get drafted. I just want him to get signed by an NHL team.
Okay. Mike, thanks for this.
Hey, thank you.
Okay, Johnny, Rick, see you later. Thanks so much.
All the best.
All the best. Bye-bye.